Hi everyone, this is Carole from Journal Eclectique. How are you all doing? This is the project number 2 from the Amazon packaging box. And this is how I started it. Now, in my first video, I will show you how I came about the size of journals. And I'm still using Linedotarrow freebies from our Facebook group. So you can buy them on a Ko-fi page, but if you join our Facebook group, they are all free, and they have uh, amazing challenges that helps you develop your junk journal capacities. Now I'm using a paper 2 page because my journal is a bit bigger. This is the Mod Podge that I diluted and regularly add glue, normal glue, and some water just to make it less thick. And this project took me about the equivalent of 2 days. Not 48 hours, but just working on it for a little less than 8 hours a day. It really depends on how much creativity you feel. And it's not going to be an elaborated journal, simply because I'm actually using what I have around me, which at this point are Linedotarrow freebies and packagings from Amazon. This is also a process video, not really a tutorial. I can't really do tutorials actually. It demands out of me too much planning and preparation. So I'm usually doing process videos where you can actually see that at some point you just need to tear the papers and glue them where you need them to be. Because that's actually the first step into doing journals, whether they are completely junk journals or like mine, more eclectic, so a mix of packaging papers or papers that I don't use anymore, some digitals, but you printed well, actually I printed them on copy paper, most of them. And they did came out pretty well. Now I'm trying to keep the creases from completely breaking, and you have to be careful of those creases for that reason, otherwise the paper will tear at exactly those places where we actually need them to be kind of flexible. Well, as you can see, I'm cutting the corners. For this particular book, since cover, since it is a bit thick, the cardboard is thick, you need to leave a little space at the corners so they can be turned properly. And at every corner you need to squish the corner paper so that it covers the corner of the cardboard properly. And of course use enough glue to glue everything nicely. Covers like this are really not difficult to make. They're actually really basic and very easy. So don't be afraid about the corners. It's all good stuff. I am going to maybe let you watch this with some music, depending on how it goes. Yeah, oh, well, maybe not so fast. This is my attempt at embossing my wooden butterfly, but not butterfly, dragonfly. And it kind of worked and kind of didn't work. So I'm not sure about this. This is one of the things I'm a pretty proud of at this point, because I did buy some pastels thinking that, yeah, I'm going to use pastel and draw everything, and I don't really know how to draw from scratch. But then some of the Linedotarrow papers are black and white, some of sepia, some of colored, and I decided to attempt this with the pastel colors, and it worked well. So the thing about watercolors is that it's going to wet the paper, and then it's going to warp, and then you have to wait, and then things are kind of weird. The pastels are dry, so all you need to do is use, like I'm doing, a brush, or you can use, as long as the bristle actually is a bit stiff, you're going to be fine. But mostly I think it would be better with a sponge. So like makeup sponge, the old style. But it kind of did great. It's very slow process, because you think the color is not exactly, while you're doing it, you think the color is not actually showing up, and then you add more and more and more, and then suddenly, poof, you have all this color on your page. So be careful about that if you want to use this or try it. It's really nice. So it will give a photograph. Let's say you have a black and white photograph. You could put some little pink cheeks on a person, and things like that, like they used to do in the old days. And I did use a it's called a gouache varnish. It smells really bad, so if you want to do that, it's a spray. So if you want to do that, you just do it outside, because I tried with the airspray, and the spray didn't stop the color from going on my finger. But the gouache varnish from PBO, it's a sealant, and it worked well. Did I say I'm actually very proud of myself to have used this for this particular page? For once, I didn't just think about it. I actually did it. So much of the things we do in this craft is thinking about, oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then actually doing it. As you can see, I'm using different brush to see how it's gonna work. This one is bigger for the background. I'm really just trying things out at this point, but it did give it a little blush. Now, off camera, most say I did put some burlap with a little lace on the side, and I did add the closure with the dragonfly. Those are my 8 signatures, and they're not very thick, so they only have 3 pages. But then again, I never used that many signature in a book before. And I wanted to make a floating spine, which turned out to be only a hidden spine. So the floating spine actually leaves a gap between the spine and the book. So the material you use for the spine of the pages. But then it didn't work out on the sides the way I wanted, so I actually glued the whole thing inside the book, so that becomes a hidden spine, because you're not going to see the signature that are sewn in. Now this paper I bought from Amazon when I was actually searching for the perfect craft paper to glue, and well, I ended up with that, and that's not the perfect paper to glue, but it is very good at gluing things. So it's kind of a paste that you have to wet. And at this point I did put too much water on it, so it took a little while before it dried, and then it didn't exactly dry the way I wanted, so I had to sew around the entire thing. Oops, I did hit the camera there. It's not bad, but I would use less water next time. Maybe just a damp cloth, so I could actually just wet the glue, but not immerse it. So in some other videos, I actually made some stencils with the Cricut. So you might want to see that. I will put the video in the description. And now what I'm trying to do is only use water and a cotton ball to kind of lift the avocado dyeing paper color that I have there. And it didn't exactly work the way I wanted. So future me will simply use a color that match the paper and put it on the stencil like we usually do, when you ink the paper. This way it will be tone on tone and it will look like you've actually put the stencil while you were dyeing the paper. That was what I was going for, but it didn't exactly work out that way. But I did try, so now I know. So it's wet right now. That's kind of what I wanted, but once dried, it didn't exactly do that. So now I'm using the usual ink from Timolt, Distress ink, and I'm just putting some things a bit everywhere. Those stencils you can find on Temu, AliExpress, and all those places for almost nothing. The only advantage that it gives you when you buy them from those places is that you can actually buy a lot and have a lot of choice. This said, is it a good thing or not? Sometimes having too much choice is not a good thing, since you are you're getting a bit paralyzed by it. But I found out while doing, since I'm doing the junk journals, that stencils, you have to pick just a few. So for every project, you kind of pick 1 or 2 or 3 stencils, but no more. Otherwise, you end up just looking for them, wanting something that ending up with something that's not maybe adding, but more distracting from the project. So keep it simple, and if you really need to add anything, you can do it later anyway. This stencil is really one of my favorites. I really love this one. It goes with everything, goes everywhere. It's really a nice background. I do plan to use it to make coffee dyed paper with the stencils, which I've never done before, because as expected, it does take more time. So you basically need to leave the stencil on the paper for as long as it's wet. So it needs to dry with the stencil on it. Takes a lot more time than expected. And I'm only using some partials of the stencil because I don't want, I wanted to make some interest in on the page, but not to overtake the page. That's also something I'm actually realizing, is I made in the past journals that were completely filled with either digital patterns or basically ephemera or anything else. And it's fun to watch, it's fun to touch, it's fun to discover, but in the end it's like, oh my god, there's so much stuff in this. What am I gonna add? What can I add to it? It's already full. So it's kind of something that I've realized that I'm doing, and not that I don't want to do it again, but I feel like leaving them a bit more empty than filled could actually be a good exercise. Which doesn't mean it's going to be empty. It just means that for this particular journal, all the ephemera will be in a bag. So if I need a pocket, and of course it will be the ephemera from the Linedotarrow freebies, and instead of being already glued and everything, they're just gonna be on a in a separate bag. This way, if I want to use it, or maybe if I get to sell it and the person wants to add pockets or file folders and things like that, that they'll have stuff to match with. So I'm really happy with how this looks right now. And yeah, this is the waterproof varnish that I'm going to put on the cover. I feel like when it's paper like that, especially something you handle all the time, sealing it with something might be a good idea. So I have this varnish that I bought specifically for this kind of things, and I'm going to add it. I thought it would make a bit more of a varnish finish, but it's not doing anything. So it didn't leave any brush marks, and it didn't leave either like something you would identify as a varnish on the paper. So it's kind of nice. It's invisible. So as you can see, I have sewn in the middle of my future hidden spine, because the paper didn't seem to want to glue completely like I wanted. And for this particular thing, so I have 8 signatures and I need to leave some space on each side. So I'm using this big black pen just to make sure that I don't make holes on the side. Oops, sorry. And I will poke my holes in between those lines. And this is where actually me making tutorials is not exactly the best thing. So I started off doing red lines and they were crooked. So I had to redo my thing with blue. So now I'm marking the 3 horizontal lines that will be my signature lines. And this is really approximate. There's no rule in calculating in this. And of course, once you turn the spine on the other side, you don't see the holes anymore, which were always fun when you want to sew them in. And this is a good practice actually when you want to sew in your signature. So you'll have to, at this point I'm gonna have to sew 8 signature in it, so not changing the space, the hole, not mixing them up. Now I'm adjusting my height. They were a bit too high. So this again is not exactly the way you should do things. And you always need to make sure that you mark the top of your signature and the bottom so you don't flip them up. which I did, and things didn't line up, so I had to undo it and redo it. Always make sure also the signature are right side up, all the papers in them. Now I'm going to do the lazy way. So I turn the signature upside down to punch the holes where I have marked them in red. And this is where things get confused, because sometimes you will do this and flip them up and they end up upside down. So be careful of that. So I did spare you the entire 8 signature, so we could get on with sewing them in. And the reason why I only may put 3 papers per signature is so, well, you could or I could put more papers in them, so glue some on and things like that, without getting an extreme gator mouth on the book. So I also did take out a bit of the width, and those papers you can actually use to make clusters and to make side page decorations. So I'm always starting in the middle, and when you start inside the signature, you get to attach them inside the signature. So you can go up or down, that doesn't matter. The importance is that you go once down, then you go all the way up, come out through the spine, and then you have to go back in the middle. And when you go back in the middle, that's where it gets a bit dangerous, because not dangerous, but you know, complicated. You need to go back in the same hole that you once got in and not go through the thread again. So because if you go through the thread, you risk to break the thread, and you can't exactly tighten your stitch. The signature will be a bit floppy if you can tighten properly. And I think I'm good there. But sometimes when you just get it inside the other thread, you just need to not push it, but bring it to you and can take it out of it. You don't automatically need to redo it entirely. Sometimes you just need to untangle it. And I found this to be the most easy way to attach the signature. It only becomes difficult, more difficult when you actually have the 5-hole signature instead of the 3-hole. It's more stable if you have the 5-hole, but then it's also more time consuming, and there's a lot more places where you can actually entangle the thread. and then I split the thread between the long the long stitch, so I can attach them properly. That way it doesn't go anywhere. And that's not any type of special thread, I guess. You can find this kind of kit on Amazon for what, under $20. The thread is waxed, but other than that, it's nothing special. It comes with a kit, so you have needles and you have some uh, what you call them? No, like ribbon, but in thick cotton. There's so many ways to bind a book. On YouTube, it will give you a lot of ideas on that. Yeah, see, I have to untangle my thread there. It's easy, you see, it's nothing to worry about. So I guess there's only 2 left. Now, while I'm finishing to sewing in the signature, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my channel, to uh, leave a like and a comment about my videos. It always helps the new YouTubers around. And also, when you subscribe, I will be doing a giveaway for every 100 new subscribers. So right now I think I'm only needing 10 to get to 200. So a little bit I will be making a giveaway. So if you want to be eligible, just subscribe, like, and when I'll do the giveaway video, comment on it. And I will be more than happy to pay for shipping and have you sample some of the work that I do. So thank you again. I will leave you to the rest of the video. And this book, well, while I'm at it, this book will actually be put on my Ko-fi page. So you go to ko-fi.com and you search for Journal Éclectique in French, QUE, instead of just a C at the end of eclectic. And it will be shown there because Etsy, there's so many fees. I mean, I experienced it. It's kind of fun that it has a bigger, showing. It's a place that's easier for people to go maybe see, but the fees are eating at everything you make as the little profit that you make, and at the end you have to boost the price so much it's ridiculous. So I'm going to put that book on just on Ko-fi, so this way it can be affordable. The first one I made is only $15 plus shipping, so it's actually a nice deal. And I will leave you to this one now. So keep watching. There will be a presentation at the end of the video. And thank you again for subscribing, liking, and commenting. So we are the finishing line of those signatures sewn in. I'm checking if everything's fine. They all look fine. Still got room on the sides to glue it down. Looks great inside the book. Now that piece of paper that you see, I actually took it out because that was supposed to be the floating spine thing. But then it made like a curve when I opened and closed the book. So everything was taken out, and that was actually taken out too, and everything got glued inside the spine instead. And for some reason, of course, when you're exasperated by your failure, I didn't exactly film it, so this is what you will see of it. But at the end, it's just a hidden spine. Now I had this idea to make like a photo board for the front, because you probably saw the elastic, and the elastic is actually giving some texture of the board, so I can just put paper on it. It's elevated. So I decided to cover a piece of cardboard, a very thin one, like the packaging you have for, let's say, macaronis, and I put some something squishy. I glued I had a piece of polar fabric, so I put that inside, and I covered it with the same fabric of the spine. Of course, I put some eyelets around, and I used this silver elastic, because all the other elastic that I had, apparently I had them for too long, so when you stretch them, they just break apart. So this was what I was left with, which is not bad actually. It's kind of giving a little richness to it. And for this project, I should have used bigger eyelets. So those are small ones. I think it's 1/8 of the 1/8 inch. And I'm going to glue everything in the back, but not where the eyelets are, so, and not where the elastics are, so I can actually stretch it more if I want to. Now my glue was so thick, actually after that I actually put some water in it, not a lot, maybe 5 millimeters of water, and it actually made a big difference. Thick glue is fine, but my god, when it's too thick to come out of your bottle, it's time to add some glue. Especially some water, especially if it's water-based. That works well. So this will take care of the front and side of the cover. And I'm doing this so it can actually press on the entire surrounding of the photo holder, I guess, or document holder, depends. Also putting some grease sheets for cooking in between, so they don't glue together the page in case some glue actually come out. So the embossing of my dragonfly is actually holding on, still that. That's why I like using it all the time, just to test it. Now the front of the and also, well, the front, no. What you actually seeing right now is some of the presentation, and I did add these white ruffle, fabric ruffle, and they are from window drapery, the see-through kind. So since I have a lot, I decided to put one on each first page of the signature. It does add a little girly touch, and it does match with the neutral side of the signatures. And there's the bag of ephemera that I'm actually keeping for this book. So those were non-stop papercraft freebie page. The rest is Linedotarrow freebie page. So this is a little page that goes inside that envelope. Some tags. They're all backed up from packaging, the brown packaging you get in your Amazon packagings. So those are envelopes. Some file folders. Wheel tabs, 8 of them. Scraps of papers from the wheel tabs that you can add on the page. Those are clusters I've made myself from scrap papers, and I've included 8 of them. And this is some, those are things I stamped up, and this particular fabric is something I bought from Temu. So we can actually do earrings with them. You take the shape, put a jump ring on it, and youpee! And some fabric scraps. So I hope you enjoyed this. See you later.